Good morning. Maybe it's not morning by the time you watch this, but hey, work with me, people. Here we are. So it is a wonderful Wednesday, and we are continuing on with our learning about square roots. And so in yesterday's Desmos activity, kind of walked you through all of these different screens. Some of these should look familiar. Oh, yeah, like this one, where you had to place 6 of these dots. And I don't know if you all got the same numbers or not. The square root of 81 goes there. The square root of 225 goes way up there at 15. I can't see it because it's behind me. Here's the square root of 64 and so on. If we were in class, I would have you take a long strip of paper and we would make a ruler showing that the number 1 is the square root of 1. The number 2, actually, and I guess I should move that over so it looks right. The number 2 is the square root of 4. The number 5 is the square root of 25. The number 12 is the square root of 144, and so on, okay? And then as you started getting familiar with these perfect square numbers, like 100, you know that that's 10 times 10. And so then you started entering in here these numbers and so on. All right. The last one, though, that last level seemed to be one that caused some people some struggles. So I just want to show you how you grouped these things a little bit. So we have the number 4. We have this weird symbol. So there are 9 squares here. The square root of 9 means what's the length of each side? That's a 3. Now, with all these things everywhere, and I'm not sure we can figure out where some of these things are. The square root of 36. Here's the 3. So if I pile these two on top of each other, they start to make a card. And then we also need, whoops, I didn't want to do that. Then we also need to try and find the mathematical expression, the square root of 9. So, here it is. Okay. And then when you put all that together, that's one card. And we can then, we can move that guy out of the way. Okay. And then start building the rest of them. The square root of 64 is exactly 8. Okay. And then is this one 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Nope. That's 7 on a side, but I know that those two then would go together. And the square root of 49, that goes with that one. That made a card. Get that out of the way. I bet this is the 64. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. Square root of 64 and 8. So those guys made a pile of 3 cards. Let's see. This one, this is not correct. I got to separate those. That goes with the 4 and so on. And you kind of had to keep building from here. 1 and the square root of 1 and so on. And to give you that idea that we have a picture in our head of what square roots really are. So let's move on to what we are going to do today. Alrighty, so a square root is really the number that when you multiply it by itself, you get this value that would be the area of a square. So let's say this was a big number, like 196 square units. Okay, whatever, we get all kinds of squares. If I ask you what is the square root of 196, I'm asking you how long is each side of the square? What number times itself? It is not dividing. In fact, we need to start using some resources with our calculator today. So let me undo this and let's make sure you feel comfortable remembering how to get to a calculator. Now, you do not, I think almost every calculator has a square root button on it. I'm just simply going to go to the one that we use at school and show you where that button is, okay? So here we go. Get to the calculator. All right, here it is. So when you look on this one, you will see a button right here next to the 7 that's x squared. The second function is the square root. So that question we had about 196, which I hope is going ding, ding, ding in your head because that is a perfect square number. Press second and this button to give you the square root symbol. You have to do that before you put the number inside. 196, hit equals, exactly 14. Do you not trust it or believe it? Well, then you can always go back and check it and say, what's 14 times 14? Or 14 squared, and you hit enter. Bam, 196. So feel free to have your calculator handy today as you work through these problems. But that's why I wanted you the other day on Monday to start memorizing the perfect square numbers. All right. Oh, we just did that one. Okay. Let's move on to this one. Square root of 25. I'm asking you what number times itself equals 25. Some of these you'll have rapid fire fast, like this one. 5 times 5 is 25, so I shouldn't put an equal sign there. So that means the square root of 25 is exactly 5. There's your answer, because 5 times 5 is 25. Now, that's what you were working on yesterday. Getting familiar with that, especially with some of those perfect squares. But what about a number like 28? If I gave you 28 Cheez-Its and I said make a square, you can't. Not with whole numbers. That's right. Because the square root of 25 is exactly 5. The next perfect square is 36. Because what number times itself gives you 36? 6. So the square root of 28, there really is a value that will work here. It's somewhere between 5 and 6. If you started guessing and we started looking at, I'm looking at, well, 28 is closer to 25 than 36. So I would guess maybe like a 5.2, something like that, or 5.3. Well, if we started grabbing our calculator just to explore for a second, 5.2. So let's say 5 and 2 tenths. Oops, that's subtract. I can't see. Can't get that guy to move. So where is it on here? Oh, it's below the 2. Yeah, 5.2. There we go. 5.2 squared. It should be more than 25 because 5 times 5 is 25. 27.04. I'm trying to find the square root of 28. It's got to be bigger than that. 5.3. And I square that one. Oh, that's a little high. But it's close, isn't it? So I bet it's like 5.27. Let's try that. 5.27 squared. What do you think? Is it going to be? Oh, it's close. It's got to be more than that, 5.28. So we could investigate like this. And oh, now 528. Hey, crazy lady. Let's get back here. Just clear that. Clear. 5 and 28 squared. Okay, it's getting closer. We would kind of weave our way and kind of go high, low until we found that value. Your calculator has the square root function. So let's see what happens when we try to figure out the square root of 28. I'm going to tell you it's got to be more than 5.28. It's less than 6. It's less than 5.3. Let's see what happens. What? What is that? Well, this is called simplest radical form. Hit your toggle button to turn it into a decimal. And look at that. Now, big decimal. You think that stopped there at that last 2? Huh? Do you? Nope. These square root numbers that aren't perfect squares are weird. I don't like to say that in front of them because I don't want to hurt their feelings. Actually, they really are kind of cool if we get to talking about that. But what they really are like the number pi. They're irrational. We can approximate them with a decimal, but they go on and on and on and on and on. You know, like that one friend who has to tell a story and they keep going and going and going. Sorry, Millie needs a treat. You ready? Go get it. She's trying to dig in my pocket. All right, so we just said the decimal approximation looks like this. 5.2915, blah, 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 5.2915. So let me get there. So notice I'm using approximately 5.291. Okay, what was it, 150? Oh, Lord, I can't even remember. 1502622. 1502622. And then it keeps going. It doesn't repeat. It doesn't end. It's a strange thing called irrational. So we're going to have to round these off. And usually we'll say maybe the 10th place, maybe the 100th place. Let's round to the hundredths. So are we going to leave it at 5.29? Or are we going to go up to 5.30? You look next door, it's a 1. So we're going to round this to approximately 5 and 29 hundredths. Now that's not exact, but it's close. All right. And that's what we're going to have to do when we're taking square roots. So the big news flash today, you can take the square root of any number, any positive number whatsoever. Some of them are nice, meaning like the square root of 49 is exactly 7. Yay. Some of them are irrational, like the square root of 28, big long decimal. Let's practice. Square root of 35. Now I know the first thing you're thinking of is, oh, I'm just going to grab my calculator. Here's what I want you to think though. The square root of 35 is some number. It's between these two perfect squares. The square root of 25 is exactly 5. Square root of 36, exactly 6. It's 5 point something. You know what? Kind of like the square root of 28 was. That was 5 point something. This one, though, is really close to this. So I'm guessing it's going to be about 5.9. Let's grab your calculator. I want you to always have that thought in your head, though. Okay? It's going to be close to 6, but not quite. The square root of 35 equals. Now, when you hit equals, it might, if you have this kind of calculator, it's going to leave it like this. It likes to leave it as perfect form. Approximate it with the decimal. Bam, there you go. If I say round to the hundredths, 5.91 or 5.92. So you look next door, it's a 6. So this is around 5 and 92 hundredths. Okay, approximately. All right, let's look at another one. Ooh, 185, the square root of 185. Before you grab that calculator, I'm thinking perfect squares. The square root of 196, exactly 14. Let's see, that was 14. 169 is exactly, the square root of 169 is exactly 13. In my head, somewhere between 13 and 14. Is it closer to 196? Let's see, it's about 11, and this is 11. Boy, this is going to be close to the middle, huh? Maybe a little more toward the 14, so maybe like 13.6. Let's find out. Square root of 185. Square root 185. I said 13.6. Oh, look at that. Bam. You know, that's only because I'm old and I've been doing it for this kind of math forever. So let's go to the hundredths place. 13.60 or 13.61. I look next door. One says chop and drop, right? I don't have to round up. So 13.60 approximately 13 and 60 hundredths. Now, I said go to the hundredths place, so put the 0 there. I know we often think, oh, if it's a 0, we can just drop it. Yeah, don't. Okay? By putting that there, I'm telling you, I went to that second decimal place for accuracy as I was rounding. All right, square root of 5. Now, when you start doing these fast, you're going to be like, it's just 2.5. Get division out of your head. I'm asking you, what number times itself equals 5? If you try 2.5 times 2.5, go ahead, smarty pants, do it on your calculator. That gives you 6 and 25 hundredths. All right, let's think about this. The square root of 4 is exactly 2. The square root of 9 is exactly 3. This is in between, 2 point something. It's closer to the 4, so I'm going to guess, 2.1, 2.2, something like that. Let's see what happens. Grab your calculator. Square root of 5. Square root 5. What did I say? 2.1, 2.2, 2.2? Let's see. 2.23 or 2.24. Look next door. That's a 6. That means round that 3 up to a 4. 2 and 24 hundredths is our decimal approximation. Oh my gosh, can you hear Millie snoring? Oh yeah, look at this. You know what she's doing? She is barking at herself in the mirror. Okay, child. Maybe this one's not the smartest. That's you in the mirror. It's not another dog. Goodness sakes. All right. So this is your job today. All right. Is you are using square roots. You have to have a calculator. All right. Use the one online. Use something that you've got. Even if you have an older one, like one of these TIs, the square root button is also in the same spot. It's the second function above the x squared. So happy square rooting and being irrational with those numbers today. All right. Yes, use your calculator. And as always, good luck and may the force be with you.